everyone. So today we are going to continue with the topic about highway standards. And up till now, what we have done is we have discussed the standards regarding different things. First of all, we started with design hourly volume. Okay. Before that, we have already discussed highway classification. Then we discussed design speed. There were a couple of tables which I showed you for selecting the design speed. Then the next one was design vehicle, and then we discussed about cross sections, and there were two types of cross sections: single carriageway, dual carriageway, and then the cross section elements were divided into two categories: major and minor. Major elements were travel lane, shoulder, and medians, and minor elements were curbs and gutters and barriers and sidewalks, okay, and crosswalks, okay. So cross slope was something else. Okay, so we discussed up to cross slope. Now today we will discuss the side slope. Okay, so I think I've used this term earlier as well. This is a slope which you give after the lane for the embankment. Okay, so I'm talking about basically this one. So up till here is the lane. This is the lane, and maybe this one is the shoulder. Okay, so after that you have the side slope, okay, which is for the embankment. And what is the purpose of giving the side slope? It is for the stability of the pavement structure, because pavement surfaces do not have columns and beams and foundations. They are resting on the pavement layers themselves. So if you make this one it's completely vertical surface, then there will be no support, right? So we make it sloping so that there will be support for the pavement structure. So the main purpose of the side slope is to provide stability to the pavement surface. Okay, because if there is no side slope, then the pavement will collapse very soon under the load. Another function of side slope is to act as a recovery area. I told you in the previous class as well what is the recovery area. The area in which the vehicle can go, okay, and the driver can try to regain the control of the vehicle. An out of control vehicle can go into that area, and till it is in that area, the driver still has the chance to regain the control of the vehicle without hitting anybody else. So this is a vacant area. Okay, this is a vacant. It is an area which is normally vacant. For example, last time I gave the example of median. So side slope is the same thing. Side slope is not to be used by the vehicles. Okay, so if an out of control vehicle goes into that area, then the driver, because he is going out of the pavement, he is on a flat on a steeper gradient, and the surface is very rough, so he will have the warning. So if he is not paying attention, now he will become attentive, and then he since he is in that area where there is nobody else, so he doesn't have to worry about hitting someone or something, and he can focus on stopping or regaining the control of the vehicle. Okay, so it can also act as a recovery area. The value of the side slope depends upon two things. It depends upon the type of terrain, and it also depends upon the height of cut or fill. Height of cut or fill is basically the difference between the ground level and the road level at the center line. At the center line. So this is the cross section of the road, right? So you can see the height of the road at the center line is not the height at the road at the other points. Okay, because the road is sloping, it has cross slope, so the elevation of the road is changing. So at which point will you take the difference between the road level and the ground level? At the center line. Okay, now if the ground level is lower, then this difference will be called as the height of fill, because then you have to fill, and the ground level is higher, road level is lower, then the difference between the elevation of the road and the ground at the center will be called as height of cut. Okay, so same principle which we saw in chapter 14 as well. If it is below the road level is fill, above the road level is cut, but the height of cut or fill is measured at the center line. Okay, because it's changing. So and the other thing on which the side slope depends is the type of terrain. We discussed three types of terrain when we were discussing the design speeds: flat, rolling, and mountainous. And I showed you with a sketch as well. So these three, right? So flat, rolling, and mountainous. Now in case of side slope, they have merged, or they are saying that the standards of side slope for flat and rolling are the same. The standards of side slope for flat and rolling are the same. They will change for mountainous terrain. So for flat or rolling doesn't matter, it will be under the same column. But mountainous can be further subdivided into moderately steep and steep. Moderately steep and steep. So both of them are mountainous terrains. Both these columns are for mountainous terrains, but mountainous terrains can be subdivided into moderately steep and steep. Now, what effect the height and the terrain is having on the side slope? Let us look at that. Now, if you see, when the height increases, the side slope is increasing as well. I mean, it is becoming steeper. So 6:1 is flatter and 2:1 is the steepest. Okay. Why it is becoming steeper? Because now if you come here, I told you in the previous chapter, flatter side slope is usually preferred because it provides you more stability. A flatter side slope is preferred because it provides stability. But when the height between the road and the ground level is large, the difference between the ground and the road level is large, then what will happen if you provide a flatter slope? Then you will need more width of the side slope as well. 6:1, and you are filling the height of 20 feet. Then obviously you need more width. Okay, if the height is only 2 or 3 feet, and then you are filling up the difference in height with a slope of 6:1, the width required, this base will be less. But if you try the same slope, a flatter slope, to fill a height of 20 feet, then the width will be more. So this width is basically wasted. This space is wasted. This will not be used by the vehicles. So you are not widening the road. You are just widening the support of the road, which is useless. In terms of traffic operation, this support or this side slope will not have any part. If you are widening the road and the number of lanes are increasing, it makes sense. But if you are just widening the support of the road, where the road only has 2 lanes, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so we try a steeper slope when the height of cut or fill is higher, so that the base required to fill up the difference in height will be less. So we are trying to minimize the width of the side slope. And then terrain, you see, when it is going from flat to steep, again the side slope is increasing. Why? Because generally we prefer following the topography of the ground, following the terrain of the ground. Okay, because if you follow the terrain of the ground, first of all, the design becomes easier, the construction becomes easier, and the construction work becomes cheaper as well. And also the maintenance work becomes cheaper. Okay, if you go to the contractor, if you go to your teachers who are teaching you construction management or something, they can provide you more details. Okay, but if you follow the topography of the ground, so in a steep ground, you provide a steeper slope. Okay, I don't mean just leave it as it is. If the ground is going by a slope of 1:1, you provide a slope of 1:1, or you make it as your design slope. No. This is not correct. Whatever steepest we can go in the available range, we go up to that. Okay, and if the ground is flatter, then whatever is the flattest, we go within our available range, we go up to that. Okay, so why the side slope is becoming steeper when the ground is steep? Because we want to follow the terrain of the ground. And why we want to follow? Because it makes the construction and the maintenance easier and cheap. Okay, so now you can see whenever the side slope is 2:1 or less than 2:1, here you see 1.75:1. So they have put a footnote here. There are some soils which will collapse by themselves without any load if you try to fill them with a side slope of 2:1. So whenever you are providing a side slope of 2:1 or higher, then you have to check the type of soil as well, the soil which you are filling under the pavement. Or some soils collapse without any load if the side slope is 2:1 or steep. Okay, so 2:1 is for special cases, and then you have to check the the type of soil as well. Now let us look at how we provide the side slope. This is the way in which you provide the side slope. So you have the traffic lane, and then you have the shoulder. and you can see the difference in the gradient, the difference in the slope. Okay. The cross slope of the dane is something different than the shoulder. Then you have the hinge point. Hinge point is the end of the shoulder, or even if there is no shoulder, hinge point is the point where the side slope is starting. Okay, so up till now it was called the cross slope. From the hinge point onwards, it will be called as the side slope. Okay, so side slope, this is the area in which you are giving the side slope. So you have a foreslope, then you have a drainage channel. Okay, now if the ground is lower than the road, then you don't need to give this thing back slope, because here you will reach the ground, then you don't need to go up again. But if the ground is higher than the road, then you need a back slope as well to attach the ditch to the ground level. Okay, again, because you cannot leave it vertical, so the drainage channel will be connected with the ground level, or will be taken up to the ground level using the back slope. So the side slope is foreslope and back slope. The slope of this side, this incline and this incline is equal to the side slope. Okay, and why we go down then, if we have to connect the slope with the ground, then why don't we go immediately upwards? Because of the drainage. If you make the side slope like this, moving upward from the shoulder, then obviously water will not go up to the drainage channel, right? So we need to make the drainage channel lower so that water can go or drain downwards. So we need a drainage channel here. Okay, and at the end of the foreslope, at the start of the back slope, the point is called as the toe of the slope, and this toe should be circular. You see, this one is pointed and this one is circular. So this is what we are trying to make, and this is what we are trying to avoid. Why? Because when the water flows to a pointed end, a pointed corner, then it creates, the pointed corner will create some more dispersion and more, you can say, bubbles or waves. No, that's not correct. More, you know, how do I say it? More variability. Okay, more pressure. Okay, so we prefer the water to flow across a rounded surface, because then the flow will be smoother. Okay, if it hits a pointed corner, then the flow will become disturbed, and this will cause the damage to the surface of the drainage channel. Okay, so we prefer rounded corners. Okay, even the hinge point is rounded, and this toe of the slope is also rounded. Okay, foreslope can also, because foreslope can act as a recovery area. We have talked about the recovery area. So foreslope can act as a recovery area. So usually foreslope is 3:1 or flatter. Foreslope is provided 3:1 or flatter. Okay, but as I said, then you have to look at the height of cut and fill and the terrain as well. 3:1 or flatter will not be possible at all locations. Okay, so if it is then more than 3:1, if the side slope is, or the foreslope is more than 3:1, then it will not be a recovery area. Okay, then you will just, if you come here, you will just fall down. Okay, so foreslope can be a recovery area if its value is 3:1 or flat. Back slope will not be a recovery area. Okay, so back slope will be as per whatever you have found from the table. Okay, if it is steep, it is steep. Okay, because you don't want to make the back slope as a recovery area, right? You come to the lane, to the shoulder, then to the foreslope, then to the drainage channel. Still, if you are not recovered, then inshallah, you will have a good place in heaven. Right? If you are not drunk or drugged, you will have a good place in heaven. You will die in an accident. Okay. So back slope is never a recovery area. Foreslope can be a recovery area. Okay. And right of way, we have used this term earlier as well in chapter 14. This is a space required for the elements of the road, for the construction of all the elements of the road. It includes existing or the elements planned for now as well as for future. Okay, so the road space, the right of way, should also include a space required for any future construction as well. Now what happens usually, for example, I need the traffic demand will increase each year, and after 20 years it will be so high that I will need a 4-lane road. Again, 4 lane means 2 lanes in each direction. Right now it is not so much. So right now I can provide 2 lanes. 1 lane in each direction is enough. Okay, so usually this is how projects are handled. The construction work is done in stages. Now you can see it. They are increasing number of lanes on Sheikh Salman Highway and Sheikh Zayed Highway. So this is stage-wise construction. Okay, so right now they will build the lanes which are required for now. Okay, and they will save the money because that money can be used somewhere else. Why would you spend the money on something which is not required right now while you have other public projects? This is public money, right? You cannot just throw it away on something which will be required after 20 years. So you save the money for that. Okay, but the space will be reserved now. For the next 20 years, the space will be reserved now. Why? For example, you don't leave the space. You let anybody take that space and do whatever they want. You just take the space of what was required right now. In future, you may require that extra space, and now at that place there is a housing plaza, there is a commercial plaza, or there is some ground or something like that. Now at that time, first of all, the owner of that land who has done some construction there may not be willing to sell his land at all. If you force him, he will ask for more money. Land is cheaper as compared to empty land is cheaper as compared to a developed constructed part of the land. Okay, so it will become more problematic for you in the future. It will also be problematic for the person who has that land. So we save ourselves and the public from any distress, and we reserve the land now even for the future. Okay, so this includes everything. So they are given some standards. We are constructing a 2-lane urban collector, reserve a space up to 18 meters. If it's a 2-lane arterial, you reserve up to 25 meters. The 4-lane undivided arterial. So 4-lane means 2 lanes in each direction. Undivided means without median. Undivided means without median. So you can go up to 33 meters. If it is with median, you can go up to 90 meters. Okay. And these are standards for Bahrain. So Bahrain has slightly, you can say, slightly higher standards. So we don't have any 2-lane arterial. In Bahrain, we don't have any 2-lane arterial. So minimum number of lanes for arterial is 4. So 2 lanes in each direction. If you have a local load, it can be 2-lane, and then a collector can be 2-lane. Okay, and then you can see the right of ways as well. Let me show you the complete picture. This is for an arterial. Okay, so 3 lanes means 11 meters. Okay, so 1 lane is like 3.5, like 3.5 meter or something. So if you reduce the number of lanes, then you can recalculate, right? Then you have a curb of 1 meter. They leave some space between the road and the footpath and the sidewalk. Sidewalk is 5.3 meter again for arterials. Median is 6 meters on one side. So this is only half of the cross section. So you take this whole width and multiply by 2 to get the other side, and then you add some more width for the side slope. So then you will get the total width of the road. So it will become close to 80 meters. Close to 80 meters. Okay. Again, this is for an arterial. Then we have gradients. So gradient is the third type of slope you are studying for the highway. We have studied cross slope, we have studied side slope, and then now we are studying gradients. Cross slope, slope of the lane or the shoulder, and you can see it in the cross section. Side slope, the slope of the embankment, again you can see it in the cross section. Gradient is the longitudinal slope along the length of the road, and you cannot see it in the cross section. So let's say this line represents the length of the road. So your car is moving along this line, okay. So if it was a cross section, then your car was moving into the cross section, right, or towards the cross section. But this is a perpendicular direction, so the car is moving like this. So this is the profile of the road, or the length of the road. Okay, so now what should be the gradient of that? Okay, now this gradient depends upon 2 things. It depends upon design vehicle as well as design speed. Your design speed is more affected by gradient as compared to cross slope. Okay, and obviously side slope is not for you. Side slope is only for the embankment. So heavy vehicles or even cars can slow down as they are going on steep grades. Okay. Cars have less problem of steep grades, but trucks and heavy vehicles obviously have issues with heavy gradients. So with steep gradients, so you need to consider the characteristics of design vehicle as well. So if you are giving a gradient only thinking that a car can go up to 90 kilometers per hour on this road, but if there's a truck, that truck will slow down on the gradient, that truck will slow down everybody else as well. Okay. You may say, okay, my road is going downward, so the gradient is downward, I don't have any problem. No, even on downward gradient, heavy vehicles have a problem. Why? Because if they, on downward gradient, if they try to accelerate and something comes in their way, then their vehicle will not be in their control and they will need more braking distance. So even on downward gradients, heavy vehicles have a problem. Okay, because then they will not be able to brake safely if something comes in their way. Okay, so gradients are greatly affected by the heavy vehicles, or heavy vehicles are greatly affected by the gradient. So you have to consider the design vehicle and what speed you want on the road. So in a nutshell, I can say you must select a gradient so that your design vehicle can go at design speed on that. Your design vehicle can safely go on the design speed on that gradient. Select that value. Okay, I will show you some standards. Other things which affect the gradient are type of road and type of terrain. So type of road means the highway classification, arterial, collector, local road, and type of terrain we already discussed, rolling, flat, and mountainous. Okay, so all these things affect the gradient. Okay, up to 5% gradient, cars have no problem. Cars don't have any problem in acceleration, deceleration, or braking if the gradient is up to 5%. So only up to 5% only you have to consider what will be the effect on trucks. But if when you increase the gradient more than 5%, so at the gradient of 5%, you can go at to maximum speed, which is 112 km per hour. But when you increase it more than that, then even the cars will have to reduce their speed, because even then they will face the same problem. Okay, like they will be slowed down when they are going upward, and when they are going downward, they have to decelerate to control their speed or to make sure they can brake safely. Okay, so you can go up to 12%, but then you have to keep in mind that as you are increasing the gradient more than 5%, you have to decrease the speed. Okay, one more purpose of gradient is drainage, or the main purpose of giving a gradient is drainage. Okay, like we don't want to slow down the traffic, right? The main purpose is drainage. Now you may say that we have already drained the water into the drainage channel, right? We provided the cross slope, so the water is already drained across the road into the drainage channel. But from the drainage channel, it has to go somewhere, right? You cannot let the drainage channel be flat along the length, and so what will happen? The water will accumulate in the channel, and when the channel is filled and the water is not moving forward, where will it come? On the road. So just having cross slope is not enough. You need to give some gradient as well, so that the water can also move forward. So it will make sure the drainage is faster from the road, and also make sure the water is moving in the channels towards some disposal site or towards some outlet as well. Okay. The table again, unfortunately, as I showed you, here the recommended speeds are given in kilometers per hour, but in the tables the speeds are still in miles per hour. Maybe they didn't have the the time to convert the speeds, right? Now you can see they have listed down the factors which we have discussed in the previous slide: the type of road, type of terrain, and the design speed. Okay. If you see the effect of the type of road, uh, or let me discuss the other effects and talk about the type of road. When you go from level to mountainous terrain, see what happens with the gradient. Gradient is increasing. Why? I already explained in the previous slide. Because mountainous terrains naturally have steep gradients. So we increase the value of the gradient of our road as well. So it is complementing the natural ground surface, the natural ground level. So it will again, for the ease of construction and for the ease of design and for the saving of cost. Okay. So this is for following the terrain of the ground. Then when speed increases, gradient decreases. Again, I've already discussed. Heavy vehicles as well as cars can have problem on steep gradients. So if you want to maintain high speed on the road, you must make the gradient flatter. So whenever the speed is increasing, the gradient is becoming flatter. What is the effect of the type of road? The same effect as the speed. For example, collectors usually have lower speed than arterials. Arterials are longer, so they have higher speeds, and they have less access and more mobility, so they have higher speed. So when you increase the speed, the gradient should decrease. So usually arterials have lower gradients as compared to collectors, and vice versa. Okay. Now let us look at the standards for Bahrain. Obviously, the standards which I showed you in the previous slide in kilometers per hour were converted values from miles per hour. So you can see 112 and 48 and so on. In Bahrain, it is all rounded off. So we have arterials which have a speed from 80 to 120. So Sheikh Khalifa bin Salman has a speed of 120. Sheikh Salman Highway has a speed of 100, and on some location it has a speed of 80. Okay, and for these speeds, they are recommending a gradient of 4%. From 60 to 70, they recommend a gradient of 5%, and for 30 to 50, they recommend a gradient of 6%. So this one is for arterials, this one is for collectors, and this one is for local roads. Okay, and you can see as the speed decreases, gradient increases. And why the speed decreases? Because the type of road is changing. Let us look at two case studies. I'm calling them case studies. They are not numericals because you are not calculating anything. You are just picking up the right values from the tables and the recommendations. Okay, so we are designing a rural collector highway for a mountainous terrain, and this highway will collect 100 vehicles per day. See the units, vehicles per day. So what do we call it? ADT, average daily traffic. Okay, keep it in mind. We have to find out the design speed, width of the lane and shoulders, and the gradient of the road. Okay, so basically 4 things. Starting with the speed. For speed, I have these 2 tables. Okay, if you are designing a rural collector, then you can use this table as well as this table. If you come here, ADT is 800. 800 is here, the middle column. Terrain is mountainous, so this one. Okay, so mountainous terrain, 800 vehicles per day. The minimum speed 30 miles per hour according to this table. See, this is minimum. So minimum should be 30. You can go 40, 50, whatever. Come to this table. Okay, rural collector. Okay, and the ADT is given. So I will look at these 2 rows. If it is over 400 or under 400, this one is over 400, 800, right? So now you see minimum speed 30, 40 or 50, 30, 40 or 50. So 30 is minimum here and 30 is minimum here as well. Now you can give 30, you can give 40, you can give 50, no problem. Because if you give 40, still you are giving more than minimum. Okay, and 50 as well. But since it is a mountainous area, mountainous areas usually have a problem when you try to give high speed. So I will try to go for the lowest value, which is 30 miles per hour. Okay, so you have to think about these things. You are not only considering one thing. In mountainous areas, I will try to give lowest from the range. I have a range here, 30 to 50. I will try to give the lowest, which is 30. Why? Because it's a mountainous area. So if you increase the speed, then you have to make the gradient and road width and everything according to the higher speed, which will be difficult. Construction is difficult in mountainous areas. So I will go for the lower range, which is 30 miles per hour. So design speed is 30 miles per hour. Then lane width and shoulder width. There are no tables for lane width and shoulder width, only recommended values. Okay, so the range is 2.7 to 3.6 meters. It's a total range, minimum and maximum both. 3.6 meters recommended. 3.6 meters recommended. So in most of the cases, we will try to give 3.6 meters. Then if you are designing a 2-way rural road, which is basically a single carriageway, 1 lane each direction. Did they say it's a 2-way road, 2-way local road or something? No. So I will not go for this. 2.7 meter if it's an urban area and a congested location. Did they say it's an urban area and congested location? No. So 2.7 meter again, I will not get. So I will go back to the recommended value, which is 3.6 meters. Okay, so we will try to provide 3.6 meters, and wherever I'm in one of these situations, then I will change. So since I'm not in these situations, so I will keep 3.6 meters. And obviously your book is not about Bahrain, so you will not take the stands for Bahrain as well. Okay. Shoulder width. Shoulder width can range from 0.6 to 3.6 meters, but 3.6 meters is for arterials. Is this an arterial? No, it's a rural collector. So I will not use 3.6 meters. They have given me a preferable range here, which is 1.8 to 2.4 meters. 1.8 to 2.4 meters. They did not say anything about bicyclists and pedestrians. They did not say anything about heavy goods vehicles. Okay, if it was heavy goods vehicle, then we can go more than 2.4 meters as well. But since it is not given, so I will just pick the highest from the recommended or preferable range. So I'll put 2.4 meters. Okay, I will pick 2.4 meters. Why? Because higher widths are for arterials or when you have HGVs. This is not an arterial and HGVs are not mentioned. Heavy vehicles are not mentioned. So I will just pick the highest value from the preferable range, which is 2.4 meters. So 2.4 meters is almost 10 feet. 2.4 meters is almost 10 feet. So I will pick a value 10 feet. Then the last thing is the gradient. For gradient, I have this table. I'm designing a rural collector, mountainous area, and I selected a speed of 30 miles per hour. So my gradient should be 10%. Gradient should be 10%. Got it? So this is how you select the gradient. Let me show you another example. It's similar to the previous example. Type of road is same, rural collector. Terrain has changed. Now we have rolling terrain. And ADT is 650 vehicles per day. 650 vehicles per day. So they have changed terrain and volume. Everything else is the same. And they want me to find out the same things. So I will go to the, first of all, design speed. Again, the table for rural collector. The volume was 650. So it's in this range. So I'm still in the middle column. But the terrain is rolling. So minimum speed is 40 miles per hour. 40 miles per hour. Okay, so minimum is 40 miles per hour. Again, I can go 50, 60 and so on. Come here, rural collector. Again, the ADT is given. Vehicles per day are given. So I will not look at these columns, these rows. They are for DHV, hourly volumes. Again, I am over 400. So my range is 30, 40, 50. Now, can I give 30 here? No, in this case, you cannot give 30. Why? Because it will not satisfy this minimum. So whenever you have two minimum values and they are different, then you will go for the higher one because the higher one will satisfy both. Okay, so if you pick 30, then 30 is less than 40. So that means you are not satisfying this one. Okay, but if I pick 40, 40 is satisfying both columns. If I pick 50, 50 is also satisfying both columns. Okay, so I can either give 40 or 50. So which one should I give? Now this one is a flatter area. Rolling terrain is better than mountainous. So I can even go for the higher value in the range. Okay, so I will go for 50 miles per hour. 50 miles per hour. Okay, why? Because of the terrain. If it was mountainous, I would have gone for 40. Okay, whatever the minimum value was. Lane width, there is no change in the lane width because lane width doesn't depend upon terrain or type of road or the volume. Lane width remained the same because I picked up the recommended value. Other values were not given. Like it's not a two-way road or it's not a local road or something. So I will pick the recommended value 3.6 meters, which is 12 feet. Shoulder width, same thing. Still, I will not change my mind for the preferable range. They did not mention HGV, they did not mention pedestrian, bicyclist, they did not mention it's an arterial, it's not an arterial. So I just pick up the value 2.4 meters, which is 10 feet. Okay. Then the last thing is the gradient. Go to this table. Rolling terrain, rural collector, rolling terrain, speed is 50, the gradient is 7%. Okay, so these are two case studies about how to select the values. Okay, so this is the end of these slides. So this is up to your exam will be up to this point. Your exam will be up to this point. So chapter 14. Then from chapter 15, highway standards and highway classification. So 3 slides. 3 slides. Okay. The first one is for chapter 14, highway location, earthworks, and so on. Second one was when we started chapter 15, highway classification. Third one, highway standards. Okay, the one which we just finished. Okay, the exam will be on 17, 4 o'clock, 50 minutes, and all of you will be in the same time. Even section 1 has agreed that they will give the exam at 4 o'clock. Okay, but I will make the link available 10 minutes earlier. Okay, so the exam will start to show at 3:50. So if you start at 3:50, you will finish at 4:40, right? Okay, so exam duration is 50 minutes, but if you want, you can start earlier. Somebody said that we have other class at 5 p.m. So we don't want to go till the end. We want to finish earlier. So the link will be available at 3:50. Okay. So I'm going for the attendance now.
Victor.
Yes.
Can you repeat the last example?
Which one? The last one?
Last one, yeah.
You mean the gradient or the other things as well?
The gradient.
The gradient, we have a rolling terrain. First of all, we have a rural collector. Okay, so this part.
Okay.
Then we have rolling terrain. So this part. Then we selected the design speed to be 50 miles per hour. We could have selected 40 or 50 or 45 as well. We selected 50. Okay, which is the highest because rolling terrain. So 50 at 50 miles per hour, the maximum gradient can be 7%. The maximum gradient can be 7%. Okay.
Okay.
Got it?
And before that, how we choose 50? You said we should choose 40 because there is 30 and 40, so the minimum one. 40 or 50?
40. Minimum 40 is given from here, from this table on the right hand side. When you come to this table, for ADT over 400, you have 3 possible values: 30, 40, and 50. Okay. Now, if you select 30, it is less than 40, so it's not applicable. You have to satisfy both tables. So if you select 30 is less than 40, so 30 cannot be selected. Now you can select 40 or 50. If it was a mountainous terrain, like it was in the previous example, I would have selected 40, because in mountainous terrain, maintaining high speed is difficult. But it's a rolling terrain, so I will go for the maximum from the range. So my range was from 40 to 50. The maximum is 50. So because the terrain is easier, instead of selecting the lowest from the range, I will select the highest from the range. Okay, got it?
Okay. Okay. The rolling, I take the maximum. If mountains, I take the minimums.
Yeah, okay. Rolling and yeah, if you have a range, right? If you have 2-3 possible values, then you can go for the minimum and the maximum. Okay, but if both tables are just giving you single value, obviously you will select that value. That's it.
Okay.
Victor.
Yes.
The method of the question, the exam will be the same or as others one?
You mean the format? Yeah, the format will be the same as the previous one.
Okay.
Teacher, can you give us more? Can you give us 1 hour for the exam, for the test? Because 15 minutes, we cannot finish the exam in 15 minutes. In 50 minutes.
I will see. I will try. Because you know the half of the exam is MCQs and true and false. You know, so if I increase the time, for everything, then you have a problem. You can see, the problem is that some of you will have more time for MCQs and true and false, which is not correct. That's why what I will do is, and it will also be good for you, I'll try to make the problem simpler and shorter. It will be more easier for you, right? Because ask any teacher, whenever they increase the time, they also increase the difficulty level of the question. They will not say it to you. I'm being very honest. I'm being very honest. You are saying we cannot do it, but when the teacher sees from his end, the exam was earlier 50 minutes, so I was using this question. Now the exam is one hour, so you should use I should add something in the question. Okay, I don't want to do that. I want to make it easier. Okay, So it will be easier for me to check as well. So what I will do is I will do the other way around. I will try to make the time same and try to make the problems simpler. Okay, so it will be easier for you.
Okay. Thank
Okay,
you,
and like I
Doctor.
did in the previous quiz as well, some of you contacted me after the exam. Immediately after the exam. Some of you contacted me during the exam as well, that we have this problem, and I try to be as flexible as I can. Okay, and I think some of you you know had a problem with uploading the documents and so on. So I try to make sure that you don't lose marks because of that. Okay. Visal Muhammad. Ala Ahmad Manahi.
Yes, Doctor.
Mahmoud is here. Okay. Muhammad Rajab. Zahra Ali Ahmad. Balkis Muhammad. Mahdi Abdulillah.
Here.
Hala Munir. Faye Ibrahim. Ali Hussain. Fatma Muhammad. Huda Ahmad. Huda is there. Right. Latifa Hassan. Umar Muhammad. Manal Yasin. Manal is here. Ali is here. Okay. Manal Yasin. Muzun Faisal. Sara Khamis. Okay, fine. Noor Tawfiq. Zainab Ali Ahmad. Did I call your name, Zainab? I did not yet. Okay, Noor Tawfiq, Kausar Mustafa, Mohammad Jafar, Wasan Rafiq, Bayan Kadim. Bayan is not here. Okay, anybody left? Anybody from this section?
Doctor,
Done,
I
everybody?
didn't hear my name.
Omar, okay.
Me too, Doctor.
Who's that?
Me.
Fatma.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else from this section? Done, right? I'm going to section 1 now. Okay, who is here from section 1? Anas and Fatma? No, Anas. And Iman Mohammed Hussain. Okay, and Anas. Right? Okay, Anas and Iman, both are done. Okay. Okay, everybody done. So see you after the vacations. Have good vacations. Assalamu alaikum.